Before ideas like time and space were made, there was a being called God, who was all-powerful and completely alone. From this point of view, we can ask a basic question: where does God come from? This question isn't just religious or philosophical. It goes to the heart of everything we know about the world and life. First, let's think about how hard it is to understand the presence of a being that goes beyond the limits of material reality. Religion and science have both tried to figure out the world in different ways in the past. While scientists use ideas like the Big Bang to try to figure out how the universe came to be, spiritual leaders and thinkers think about the nature of a creator who is timeless and lives outside of time and space. Even though these methods are different, they all aim to find the start of everything, including the start of a supreme being. We are going to keep looking into this by asking a deeper question. How can God be different from everything else if everything has a beginning? The answer to this question makes us think about forever. Many religious beliefs are based on the idea of an endless God who has no beginning or end. This is a vague idea that is hard to fully understand. Later, when we question what God's will is, the problem gets worse. Who made God's will if God chose to make the universe? This mystery makes us think about where the creative urge comes from and how it works on its own. There are an infinite number of questions in this line, and each answer only seems to provoke more questions. In this case, we look at the connection between creation and the one who made it. In the Judeo-Christian faith, there is a God who says, "Let there be light," creating the universe out of nothing. The fact that God made light out of nothing shows not only his immense power, but also his ability to bring order to chaos. The argument goes on to talk about God's part as the one who not only makes the world, but also keeps it going and runs it. The idea of a God who existed before anything else and who gives everything we know its shape and function through his own material makes us think about our own existence. Although we are made, the way we see the divine is always bound by what we can see in creation. Also, the fact that God not only starts creation but also keeps it going makes us wonder, what is the point of the world and our place in it under God's rule? This question covers not only the physical cause of our life, but also its deeper meaning. As we go through this investigation, we get a little clearer on the idea that the wonder of God is a call to keep thinking about it. It's not enough to just look for clear answers. We need to be a part of a process of finding that includes the world and ourselves. In the end, when we think about these big questions, we are moved to admire how complicated the world is and how unique the human situation is. Every time we get an answer, it leads us to new areas of study that help us understand and maybe even respect the mystery of life more. We hope that by the end of this part, we have not only given you knowledge, but also made you think deeply about the divine and how it fits into our understanding of the universe. We hope that this conversation will continue to inspire us and make us think about things in new ways. If these thoughts on nature and God's love move you, I invite you to join us on this journey of faith and discovery. If you want to keep discovering these facts with us, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for our channel. As always, if you want to help this project, please leave a super thanks. We can keep telling more Bible stories and spreading this message of faith and hope thanks to your gift. Thank you very much for your help. As we continue to look into where God came from, we come across a question that is both interesting and important. Who made the idea of God? This question brings up the idea of a God who was made, which makes us think deeply about what life and creation are all about. Our view of the universe is based on our belief in God as its maker. From this point of view, we can't accept the thought that something can come from nothing at all. We can't have something happen without something first happening, so something or someone has always been there. This makes us think about the possibility of an endless being or soul. The idea of endless life is not only important to religion, it is also essential to understanding the mystery of creation. Based on what we know about the physical world, especially since the 1930s when the Big Bang theory became popular, the universe as we know it now seems to be a transitional stage in an endless loop of cosmic events. This new way of looking at the universe changed the way we think about it by suggesting that everything is temporary and can change. Observable evidence, like the universe expanding faster and energy fading away according to the second law of thermodynamics, shows that the material universe is always changing. Stars are dying off and energy is fading away, which supports the idea that the physical universe as we know it is not eternal. This makes us think about what it means for something to last forever. The original cause, the core of everything, must be something we can't fully understand right now. This is a very important part of our investigation. Being aware that the endlessness of something or someone can be hard to understand is essential to comprehending the whole of life. When we think about infinity, we can't help but wonder what God is like. What kind of infinity is there if God is eternal? Is it an active eternity, a constant presence that shows itself by making and maintaining the world, or is it a passive eternity that just appears and doesn't do anything? Because of these thoughts, we are now even more interested in finding out what God is really like. Thinking of God as something that will never end pushes us to think about life beyond the limits of space and time. This gives us new ways to think about God's role, both as the one who created and the one who keeps everything going. In the end, this journey into the depths of eternity and divine origin isn't just a way to practice theological or philosophical thinking. It's a journey that can change our worldview and make us think about big questions about the universes and our own origins, existence, and ultimate purpose. This important part of the conversation gets us ready for the even more complicated parts of our study that will come next. These parts will be about the nature of God and the universe. As we learn more about God and infinity, we come across a point of view that makes us question what we think we know about the world and our own existence. We think about dependent reality, which includes everything around us, even everyday things like a bed or a table. Those things, no matter how solid they look, are just temporary expressions that live on a spectrum between being and not being. They are temporary and will eventually wear out. They can't explain or maintain their own existence. In the same way that dominoes fall one after the other, these events are linked in a chain of possibilities. Against this background, we need to acknowledge the presence of something deeper, something that doesn't fit into the categories of our everyday lives. In this case, religions like Islam, Judaism, and Christianity all agree that God is the basis. Some people say that God is endless, so the question of where he came from has no value for them because by definition, something eternal has no beginning. They are even less likely to accept this idea of forever because they believe that everything was made, which brings us back to our original problem. It's not a new argument. Philosophers in ancient Greece already thought about these issues, which is why the Gospel of John says, "In the beginning there was the Word." This text is not only a religious part, but it also asks us to think about how everything came from a source that is endless and transcendent and that we can't fully understand. The Greeks made a clear distinction between things that are made and things that already exist. You have to figure out if there is something or someone that has never had a start. This thing is God for Christians, and this idea is one of the most important parts of their faith. At first look, the question, "Who created God?" may seem reasonable. However, I argue that it has no meaning when God is seen as the cause that caused nothing. Still, this question leads to another one that might be even stranger. Let's say we believe in a creator world. Who or what made that creator? Philosophers and scientists are still having a hard time with this debate because it affects basic parts of how we think about the universe's beginning and nature. When we think about these questions, we have to face the limits of human reasoning and scientific research. We also have to think about the role of faith and revelation in our search for solutions. This question isn't just for fun. It has big effects on how we think about ourselves and the world. This search for understanding something as total and unthinkable as God gives us a chance to see things from a different point of view. Even if we don't get clear answers, the act of asking questions and thinking about them is itself a useful way to learn more. As we continue to argue, we are aware that our path does not only lead us through religious and intellectual knowledge, but also through a personal study of what it means to exist, why we are here, and the infinite. This trip forces us to think outside the box and look at things from different angles that change how we see the universe and the mystery of life. A scientist and a group of theologians had an interesting conversation. The theologians brought up the Trinity and asked how Jesus could be both God and man. An easy but deep question sparked a deeper conversation. What does consciousness mean? When people first thought about this question, they realized they were not sure about the idea, which led to a second, equally important question. What is power? The scientist knew that energy could be measured, but he also said that he didn't know what energy was. As the talk went on, questions about core values came up. Do you think there is spirit and energy? The physicist's yes answers brought up an important point. You can accept that something exists even if you don't fully understand what it is. That is a key part of critical thinking, which means being open to confusion in order to learn more. At first, the scientist didn't want to accept labels. Then he realized how ironic it was that he was about to put the same label on his conversation partner while criticizing himself for questioning basic ideas like energy, light, gravity, and awareness. The talk made it clear that the mysteries of physics, which people often accept without fully understanding, could very well be seen as signs of God's nature. So, the question of who made God might not be as hard as it looks. According to religious texts, God is an eternal being who has never changed. Keith Ward says in his book, God, Chance, and Necessity, that no one or anything could have caused a world that exists independently of space and time. When we look at things this way, we can see that God is beyond normal ideas of starting and ending. The idea of causality says that everything that starts to exist has a cause, but this doesn't work for things that will always exist. It is in their nature for these things not to need a reason, since they were never created out of nothing. In the same way, even atheists like Daniel Dennett agree with this point of view. He says that eternal facts like numbers and mathematical things don't need a cause because they were never made. So the idea of God fits perfectly with the idea of an endless, self-existent thing. This idea says that God doesn't need a reason because he is a primordial requirement. He is an essential and unchangeable part of the world. When we think about these arguments, we not only look at how complicated religion and philosophy can be, but we also ask basic questions about the presence and nature of God. These thoughts make us question what we think we know and give us a bigger picture of the world. They make us think more deeply about the role of faith, science, and human experience in our ongoing search for knowledge. By looking at Christ as the link between humanity and God, this conversation between science and faith gives us a rich picture of how the spiritual and material parts of the world can live together and explain each other. Talking about these things not only helps us learn more, but it also helps us see and respect the mystery of life. Looking into the idea of God as a maker who did not make anything else brings up questions that test the limits of human reasoning. Asking where the uncreated creator came from is like asking what the sound of quiet is or what nothingness does. These questions don't have anything to do with a God who is outside of time and space. There are many religious and philosophical systems that are based on this idea. For example, Christianity believes in an endless, self-existent God. Christians believe that God created everything and that nothing can change. Atheists, on the other hand, offer other ideas, like the idea of a producing multiverse or quantum fields that create worlds on their own. Even though these theories are different, they all agree on one thing: the world may not have been made in the first place. Based on these statements, it seems that we agree that there is a main reason or an unformed principle. It is important to know how this spiritual substance of God, which has no limits, works with the continuum of time, space, and matter in our world in order to move the story forward. Understanding the whole of creation depends on how these things connect with each other. Time, space, and matter all exist at the same time for a reason. They are connected and appear at the same time, which is summed up in a simple but deep religious statement. God made the sky and the earth in the beginning. This line shows that along with matter, time and space also came into being, making up the basic trio of things that were made. There is a trio for each of these things: time, space, and matter. Yesterday, today, and tomorrow are all parts of time. Space is made up of 3 dimensions: length, width, and height. Matter can be solid, liquid, or gaseous. All 3 parts work together to make a Trinitarian triad, which was made right away by a God who is not limited by time or space. If God were limited to time, he would have to deal with the things he made, so he would not really be divine. So we need to think of God as something that not only goes beyond these limits, but also includes and controls them in a way that we can't understand. This idea of God as a maker who works with the world but is not limited by its rules helps us understand more about what God is like. Not only does this God set the rules, but he also keeps everything going and is present in every part of creation. He affects and supports the universe in ways that are beyond our comprehension. Thinking about these facts makes us understand that how God works with the world is still a mystery that pushes the limits of science, philosophy, and theology. By thinking about the basic 3 things that make up space, time, and matter, we are asked to think more deeply about the purpose and structure of creation. Think about how spiritual and physical worlds are linked in a dance that will never end, directed by a creator who is ageless and beyond our understanding. The comparison of a computer programmer to God perfectly shows how God is connected to the world. Just like a programmer is not limited by the machine they work on, God, who made the universe, is not limited by what he made. Beyond the world, he goes beyond it and is not touched by it. This idea goes against the idea that a spiritual force can't connect with matter, which brings up deep questions about what life and awareness are all about. So how can we explain things that are hard to understand about people, like feelings, love, hate, envy, the gods, and reason? How can we believe that our thinking and morals are correct if we believe that our brain is just a collection of chemicals that have changed over billions of years? These questions make it clear that trying to apply human limits to God is a waste of time. He works in a realm that goes beyond space and time. This level of elevation is what makes people fear and respect it. When we think about what God is like, we realize that we can't fully understand him, which ironically makes us respect him more. During a historical event, this thought came up again. It was said that God, who appeared as the saint of the mountain and the staff, is not limited to one place or form. His presence is everywhere, going beyond all physical and mental limits. Logic was used to argue against the idea that God could have appeared out of thin air in a discussion about where God came from. It doesn't make sense to say that God appeared out of thin air, according to a scientist. Instead, he said that God existed apart from any place, since there was no such thing as a place before God. Because there is no room where God could have appeared, he did not come from a place. When we read the book of Genesis again, especially lines 26 and 27 of the first chapter, we can see how God held the world in the air and existed beyond it. He made the world with the hammer of his will and the stick of his power. Since no one was around to argue, he used the spark of his essence to throw stars into the sky, and no one objected. God looked at creation at the end of his work and said, "It is good." This story not only shows that God is separate from his creation, but it also shows that he has the power to change and create the material world. God's involvement with the physical world is a puzzle that can't be solved, but it shows that he can go beyond the natural rules he created. When we think about these lessons, we are asked to think about how big God is and how much he affects our lives. This is a truth that both tests our sense of reason and strengthens our faith. Christ's ascension makes his name more important than all others. At his name, every knee should bow in heaven, on earth, and under the earth, and every tongue should say that Jesus Christ is Lord. Think about how deeply God is connected to people and everything else in the world. This celebration of Christ is a foundation for many views. It shows that questions about where God came from and how the world was made are deep and have captured people's attention for a very long time. Even though these thoughts come from certain faiths, they speak to a truth that is true for everyone. There are natural limits to what we can know about God and the world. That there is an uncreated maker who is beyond time, space, and matter is a very difficult idea for people to understand, but it also serves to remind us of how much we still don't know. As we think about these big questions, it's important to remember that God's presence has been shown throughout all of creation. From the way each floor was built without any help from humans to the vast sky full of stars at night, everything in nature points to a maker who not only made the world, but also keeps it alive and well. Every part of nature, from the perfect rhythm of the seasons to the growth and renewal of life around us, sings of God and makes us think about how great he is and how carefully he cares for every detail. This view of creation not only strengthens our faith, but it also makes us wonder again about the Creator, which makes us more sure of his loving presence all the time. This point of view makes us think about not only how great God is, but also how close he is to us and how he is always interacting with the world he made. On our journey of discovery, we look into everything from where God came from to the details of infinity and the beginning of the world. We look into riddles that make us think and are good for our spirit at the same time. Thinking about how time, space, and matter are all linked is a constant reminder of how complicated and beautiful the world is. It also points to the existence of a creator who goes beyond all normal ideas of what it means to be alive. So, when we think about how big the world is and how deep our ideas go, we feel revered and think about ourselves. Recognizing the divine in all parts of life makes us think more deeply about the purpose and meaning of our own lives. This leads to a renewed respect for and dedication to understanding a reality that is both boundless and deeply linked to each of us. We learn about the endless questions of philosophy and the vastness of the universe through these studies. We also learn about how humans can see, admire, and respect the order and beauty that God brings into the universe. By accepting these facts, we can have a deeper and more meaningful connection with the world around us, realizing that there is a part of the divine in every moment and every event that keeps everything going. No matter how small or big something is in nature, from the way a leaf is shaped to the beauty of the stars at night, we can clearly see signs of God's love and wisdom. It is this eternal, self-existent maker who kindly invites us on a journey of faith, knowledge, and deep awe. We should see God in everything when we think about how big the universe is and how complicated our own lives are. This should make us want to live with thanks and respect, seeing every moment as a gift from God. It's a call to get closer to the one who made us and let his light not only guide our steps, but also fill our hearts with a greater knowledge of how much he loves each of us. Being truly wise means being aware of your flaws, while also knowing that you are part of a bigger plan that is held together by love that never changes. As we grow in our faith and knowledge, we are called to share this path of discovery with others, giving them light and hope, so that everything we do shows the beauty and majesty of the Creator. As we come to the end of this deep and important reflection, I pray that God will bless each of you, making your ways clear and your hearts full of love and peace. May this message not only be heard, but also lived, because each step we take is a chance to show how grateful we are and how committed we are to the path the divine has set out for us. Today, if you feel the call to be at peace with our Savior, Jesus Christ, or if you want to start a new path to permanent safety, this is your chance. It's both an invitation to change yourself and an invitation to be a light of hope and love in the world. If you accept this call, you will become part of a faith community that goes beyond place and time. This community is linked by the Spirit of love that lasts forever and is led by God. May Christ's peace rule in your hearts and God's light shine through your lives to show how gracious and good He is. I want to thank all of you for being with me on this journey of thought and learning. May the trip you all choose to take from now on be full of many blessings and times of growth, love, and deep connection with the divine. This is not the end of your lives. It is the start of a new phase where every day is a chance to show how much God loves you no matter what. May this word be the start of a new life full of faith, hope, and love. As we end our time of thought today, if anything we've talked about has moved you, please think about becoming a part of our faith group. Follow our channel for more moving and enlightening stories, and please share this video with anyone you think could benefit from it. Thank you for following us to the end of this incredible story. See you in the next video. May God be with you always. Amen.